My name's Dane Nelson. I'm the city administrator for the city of Adrian. I'd like to welcome everybody here this evening. It's a great crowd again. I appreciate that. We have plenty of capacity. Unlike the other night at City Hall, we were actually ran out of seats a little bit. We had about 215 people. I think we're doing a little bit more than that now, so I really do appreciate this. And I think we'll have a great opportunity to try to share some feedback and have some discussion about what is going on with city finances. Before we start, I did want to recognize our city commissioners who are around in the building here. Mayor Dumars is on vacation. I don't know if, I haven't seen Commissioner Carrico. Are you in the building someplace? I didn't see, I don't think so, maybe not yet. Commissioner Warren's over here. I don't know if Commissioner Berryman Adams is here. Julie? Haven't seen, no, Julie's father's here. Jerry Gallatin, City Commissioner. Chuck Jacobson is with us. And Tom Fallhaber, I believe, is in the back. Thank you for coming. We also decided that we thought we would have a big crowd tonight, so we wanted to, if people were not able to, we had a couple of requests for people who were not able to come. We wanted to be able to tape this, so we're going to try to put it on our website. And I want to thank Joe Jenkins and his Vision group for taping this tonight at the last minute. They've been very helpful, and I appreciate that, Joe. I also want to thank our communications director, Liz Arnold, who did a great job putting the PowerPoint together, and Todd Brown and Kristen Bauer from our engineering department, who helped with the graphing. I had to redo a lot of them because you don't really want to see engineer graphs very well. You know, they're pretty confusing to follow, so we tried to get it a little straightforward, so I think we're on good ground. What we're going to do, I've broken it down into a few sections so we don't have questions all the time. I'm going to, once we break it down, after each kind of section of the presentation, I will ask for questions and comments at that point. We are not going to pass a microphone around. If you could stand up and just ask your question, I will repeat it. Hopefully I'll remember to do that and try to answer it, and we'll proceed that way. And then at the end, of course, we're going to have an open opportunity for everybody to speak and say what you would like. Carol Suchuk, our librarian, wanted to remind me that we do have restrooms right out the door by some of our firefighters over there. There's restrooms. If your children are here and are getting fidgety, the children's section is open if you would like to go up there and have them read some books or do whatever, so that we can keep them occupied while we're doing this. So with that housekeeping away, what we're going to do tonight, I will say it's not just a discussion about recreation. We will obviously discuss recreation and other departments to some degree as we proceed, but this is not just simply a discussion about recreation. We've broken it down by topics. The goals tonight, we're talking about how cities are funded. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about funding of local government in the state of Michigan. I think people, obviously, as long as we can have services continued, nobody cares much about how you pay for it until you run out of money, and then services are cut, and then we get a crowd. I was saying to somebody the other day, you know, if the commission was looking at just spending savings, we wouldn't have a crowd. If we were going to continue service and spend savings, we would not get a crowd. So looking at potential reductions, we have, I guess, an audience, and so this is our opportunity, I think, to work together as a community. One of the speakers the other night said it very well. Commissioner Carrico, welcome. Okay, and so we're going to look forward to working together with the community. We're then going to move to statistics that are specific to your city. There's been a lot of discussion that the city has spent itself into this session, overspent, if you will. I want to show what the real statistics are about employment, reductions of spending, and what we've done to try to cut costs as your local government. We're going to talk about a history of that expense reduction. We will give some very specific statistics about what we've done over the past several years once property values in revenue sharing was going down. I'm going to have kind of a special section on what I'm calling Mythbusters. I want to talk about, I'm not the biggest person on social media, but everybody's been telling me that, you know, they're We're saying that we spent too much on the city complex, the prisons costing us money. We're going to go through a real quick look at some of these issues that I think people are looking at, and while it's important to go over those, I want to remind everybody those are in the past typically, but I think we need to put those to rest and move forward as a community. But I wanted to talk about some issues that we've talked about that have people hung up and if you will, want to talk about at the barber shop or wherever, and I think we need to get those out of the way. We're then going to have a section on revenue options. We're going to talk about the options that the state of Michigan gives us for revenue. One of them that I'll say right now is that a local sales tax option is not an option. A lot of people would think that would be a fair thing to put a penny or two on sales in Adrian. The legislature will not do that. They've been asked to do it, but that's not an option. And that's one of the reasons that the local income tax is the option. That's one of the very few options that the state legislature gives us as a community to try to consider for more revenue. Last, we're going to talk about the upcoming city budget, what some of our challenges are for it, and the timing when our city commission has to make the budget. So that's what we're going to do. And again, after each one of these sections, we're going to try to stop and break through, and we'll give opportunities for questions at that point in time. So Liz is going to try to help me with our slides, and we're going to go to the first one about how cities are funded. We've got really three main areas of revenue. We have other fees and charges and things, but those are not major sources. These are our main ways of raising money. And this is for our general fund, and I think I need to start there because there's a lot of confusion in some of the myths, if you will, of our mythbusters. A lot of people complain, for instance, about two-way streets. That money came from state with the gas tax. That is not able to be spent for general fund. General fund is for your police, fire, things like that. Utilities are separate. Those are covered by rates. These are items that your general government services, and so that's the fund where we are having our problems and our deficit, if you will, and that's what we're going to look at. Now, and these are the ways we fund our general fund. We have real property taxes for homeowners in here. The way that's done, we look at your valuation of the property that our city assessor, Kristen, values the property. That is equalized by Marty Marshall at the county. You multiply that times the millage rates, and that comes out, it spits out your property taxes. That's what happens. And I'm going to show you in a minute what happens with some of the restrictions that the state of Michigan has put on us in the Constitution, frankly, about how that can move forward or backwards. Currently, we also have another tax called personal property tax that the city receives. We have about $63 million of personal property tax in the city. The personal property tax is slated. The legislature a few months ago in their lame duck session at the end of the year voted to eliminate personal property tax, and cities requested full replacement. We get about $900,000 a year in personal property tax, and that is slated to be eliminated, and the legislature has decided to replace some of that. They gave us a formula. Right now it looks like we are going to be losing probably $110,000 to $125,000 a year more than these slides because of the personal property tax loss. That will not take place in this budget year. That's in the following year, starting in 2014. There will be a vote on that coming up in the fall of 2014, and for the whole state to see whether or not they want to use that money to support a reduction in business taxes, or they want to restore the personal property tax. But as it stands now, if that law is approved, we will lose again a little over $110,000 for certain. The third main way we get money is revenue sharing. Revenue sharing is a little bit confusing at times, but that is considered sales tax. The sales tax that everybody pays when you go to a store in Adrian or whatever, you pay your 6%. We get none of that money directly. Okay, a lot of people think sales tax is paid somehow to the city. We do not receive any of that revenue. That revenue goes to the state of Michigan. Historically, cities, I'm told, did collect their own sales tax, but the government in Lansing said that's an inefficient way to collect sales tax because everybody's collecting it. So let us collect it and save money, and then we'll send you back your share. Okay, and I'll show you what that share has become. Part of that, luckily, is protected by the Constitution. The other part is subject to the appropriations in the legislature. And as I will show you, the legislature has chosen to keep more of that money every year and give us less. And they've increased spending while we've obviously decreased spending. So that's the three general choices. Now, if we can move to our next slide, I want to talk very briefly about what the average taxpayer in our city pays. A lot of people get confused when they see their bill and they think the city taxes are going up. In fact, the city collects taxes for everybody, but we don't get taxes for everybody. About 40% of our bill is for the city. Everybody else, we collect taxes for the schools, we collect taxes for the intermediate school district, the Department on Aging, all the other taxing authorities. We collect all that money and send that out. We do get an administration fee of 1% of the amount we collect, but we don't, obviously, the tax revenues are just sent on. So as you can see from this slide, the average home now in the city of Adrian, according to our assessor, is $72,000. This slide will show you how you pay taxes. The taxable value is 50% of that $72,000. So the taxable value on a $72,000 home is $36,000. The millage that we talked about is 13.6293. You multiply times that, and it pops up at $490.65. That's what, if you're one of those average taxpayers, that's what you pay. And what that covers is your police, fire, library, parks, recreation, anything that is a general fund expense, all the occupancy costs, the buildings, utilities, all of those things, that is what it pays for. We've had 2 times where we've had voted millages on top of that. We are currently in process of one of those for local streets, and that was 1 mill, and I'll show you how that's been reduced a little bit because of this Headley amendment that we'll talk about. But that was 1 mill, and again, if you want to know how much you pay to support local street building and repairs in the city of Adrian, you take that $36,000 taxable value, multiply that times the mills for that one for the local street, and that person pays $35 a year. That's a yearly charge. So overall, if you're the average homeowner for general fund expenses, you're paying $525 a year. That's just where we are. Now the next graph will show you a little bit more of a breakdown of what's happening with our assessed values in the city. When you look at this slide, we have a time frame from 2006-07 to 2011-12, and that's from July. If you look at the numbers, in the burgundy graph or line straight up, or the column, in 2006, our total assessed value in the city of Adrian was $533 million. That's a combination of industrial, commercial, personal property, and residential. Residential is our largest number, by the way. It's almost 3/5. It's about 60% of all our taxes. We have historically had a small industrial base, which candidly, if you look at this, we've increased our industrial tax base in the last 5 years. A lot of people think we've been decimated. In fact, a lot of the factories that have been lost around here are not in the city of Adrian. Marilat's is not, Brazeway's not, Bone Aluminum's not. We lost Dura, but a lot of the loss of industry was outside the city, so those impacted our utility sales a lot with water and sewer expenses, but from a tax base it did not affect us. So if you look at that from the top on the total amount, we've gone from $533 million to the current year of $398 million. We've lost about $135 million of tax value in 6 years. Okay, that's combined. The yellow slide, I have a separate slide on that. That's residential. We'll talk about that in a minute. The gray is commercial. We have a good commercial district. That's gone down in the last couple of years, but it's maintained itself fairly well. Personal property has been pretty flat. We have about $63 million of personal property. and the green is our industrial, and again, that shows a proportion of where our tax money comes from. It's pretty low, but it's been steady. Next slide will show you just a breakout of the residential values, because this is the most dramatic loss that we've had in tax values. Again, in 2006, we had total assessed value of $306 million for all the residential property in the city. In 2011, 2012, that is reduced to $193 million, which is over $112 million of residential loss in the last 6 years. That is, in those 6 years, that is a 37% reduction. And as I'll show you in the next slide, we're going down to 40% next year. Next slide. This one is a little bit more confusing. This is the engineer's fault, but this is the best he could do. So, again, on the left side is the total. This slide is designed to show you the rebound or coming back, if you will, of assessed valuations, because I think there's a lot of misconception by people that believe that when property values go down fast because the economy recovers, that property taxes or values will come back fast. And the property values can come back, but because of some laws that I'm going to talk about in a minute, the most that the city can rebound that effect, if you will, or recover it, is at the rate of inflation, not to exceed 2.5%. Okay, so if we lost all our property in 6 years, we cannot recover our value in 6 years. What this slide shows is that on the left, again, we started at $533 million, and this is all our assessed value. We are going down, or we have gone down over 6 years, 29% citywide, to a point of $380 million today. To recover that and get us back, not to today's numbers, but to 2007, mind you. To get back to 2007, it will take 14 years to recover that if rate of inflation stays at 2.5%, which has been the average since 1994. Okay? Again, a lot of people think the economy will get better, therefore you'll have more money, so suck it up for a year or two and your revenue will come back. Not so. We are limited by Proposal A, and Proposal A says we get to recover that. That slide shows that it's going to be a 14-year trip. The only thing that changes that is if we have house sales that uncap and we can revalue those, or if we get new construction or additions in your home, and we would love that, but we don't get much of that. The next slide, again, because this is the most dramatic slide we have, this is the residential assessed value calculation. Again, from left